And we are live.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Also, Sharif
So,
Mustafa was supposed to arrive. In fact, we were to meet with Sharif Mustafa on Friday. Then
yeah,
they had issues with the booking or something like that.
yeah,
I've not received any update from him so far.
yes,
So I don't know. Maybe I can send him a message, ask him if he's airborne. He can join the show from the plane's Wi-Fi or something.
yes.
Hmm.
Wherever it might be,
Hmm.
you can join us.
Hmm.
Let me get the framing right. This is how we get live. So whoever is watching, don't worry. Sometimes we are setting up as we go. Yeah. We can always motorcar.
So
Welcome to
graduation
the free flowing
Saturday, episode number
Saturdays.
45.
Yes.
Will there be a streaming event for the graduation? Because some of us, due to one or two reasons, will not be able to join it.
Yeah.
Mm. I hope it will be there. Uh, I actually spent some extra time at the workshop. I took some pictures of the bike, the frame.
Mhm.
There was some adjustment that we did
Okay.
to make it more refined, and then we had a discussion with Eric.
Mhm.
Uh, we decided that before any form of major adjustment is made, I take pictures, send it to him. He's very good at graphics. Then he can render how the adjustment should be. He sends it to me. I send to the team, or I can print it and take it to them. We discuss it, and then it can do, because we realize most of the problems we face are visualization issues. Because me and maybe Eric, who is doing something similar to me, uh, we have a clear visual of the project. But the guys on the ground, the guys with the grinders and the welding systems and the the fiber composite builders, those are what I call open-ended professionals. They make anything. So when
Exactly.
you tell them ati fanya hivi alafu hivi sijui namna hii, by the time you end up seeing the product, you'll end up thinking of something very bad to tell someone, and you're like, ah, that's not professional.
I always say there's
Mm,
a difference between a bricklayer and an
mm,
architect.
mm,
And I actually saw this quite vividly. I think one time I was working with one of our developers
mm,
at work, software
mm,
developers, and I shared with him a certain vision. We are trying to come up with a legal portal,
mm,
a system to help lawyers
mm,
in managing a lot of the filing that they have, even their cases from the point they open a file all the way
mm,
till they see that case till the end,
mm,
um, and how it's then stored, archived, how somebody can make reference to it and things like this. So she she did know she did something good,
mm.
and she's a good developer, but she just didn't know how to piece together various functionality and create an entire story of a functional system. And this is where I saw now my business partner, who is what I would term as a solution architect. So you present to him a problem, and then from there he can now be able to put together a solution. And it's now from that solution, he even knows, okay, so this team member is best aligned, you help us put this module together. This team member is best aligned to do this together. And then he can be able to stitch all that together into a comprehensible
Like a
system.
project manager of some sorts.
Um, so he can operate both as a project manager, but he's a
Okay.
visionary. Let me use the concept of a house. When you're building a house, um, you need an architect. An architect will then tell you, once they visit a site, they can be able to see where the sun is setting, how the house can be best positioned, for wind, for lighting, all those concepts. But a bricklayer, all they know is a bricklayer. They can be able to put a brick on top of another and put up a wall. They can be able to put up a door, but the nitty gritty of how you piece all those elements together, which you are a solution architect. So you can come up with how that bike will look, feel, function, where to place this. Now, the guys who will help you do that are those mechanics. But for them, their sort of point of view or their skill set can only help them in doing the fixing up,
And then also on
putting a
matters of
solution.
details, there's some bit of feedback from your end, very tiny, like a squawking. Whenever I talk from your end, I hear. Or is it from my end? Let me see. There's a bit of a squawk from your end. So, as I was saying, there's something called product refinement. Like, I was looking at, we used to have a battery box because the previous battery was very small. So, I looked at the battery box, then I was looking at the hinges. One, hinges are supposed to be straight, but they were crookedly shaped and they were rusted. So I was asking them, I'm warning anything wrong here? Bosi hii hinji iko sawa inafunga tu vizuri. But it's rusted and crooked. Then I had to explain to them, assume this thing is going to a showroom. Assume you are the one buying it. Will you go and buy, if you walked into a showroom, would you buy something if there's that has an opening or an outlet or something? The hinges are rusted. You will not. So all that time they were very okay with it. I had to point out about product refining, and this is something I heard that this Steve Jobs used to say it. They work. They do not. Their main issue is not the technology. Their main issue is user experience. Then from user experience, you now derive the technology. So user experience, you walk into a showroom and already you are seeing a part of the product or the hinge is rusted. You turn around and walk away. There's no way you're spending your money on that. So that's what I was trying to sort of, I don't know if it's to instill or I don't know, to try to make them see because ultimately the goal is to sell. You're not grinding and welding and painting things just because
For the
we feel
sake of
we have
it, yeah.
we have some extra money to blow away on welding things here. No, we are actually placing ourselves in the same category as the international manufacturers of e-bikes, electric bikes, or whatever product is available. So we
Yeah, I
have
think you might want to spend some moment and talk to them. Their perspective is just, as I say, they're bricklayers. They are the guys doing the welding, they are the guys doing the wiring, and they probably need to understand what is this ending to. Um,
that one has to
just
be
because
done
they're getting a
gradually.
picture. Yeah,
It has to
gradually.
be done gradually because you can't do it in one sitting like one seminar because there's something called muscle memory. You've been welding beds and gates and those Masandukus are high school, those Guakali things for over 15 years. It can't end in one seminar. It has to be done bit by bit, component by component. Like this shape, this is a no, I can't accept. Like if I may share this, uh, initially, this is what they made. In fact, I put it on Twitter. If I may share it.
I don't know if I'll be able to share.
Oh, you don't have that capacity?
The way I'm seated now,
Huh.
it's
Okay. Whatever it is, the framework was an improvement, but Majority products today thrive more on terms of aesthetics. They thrive more on curves, not sharp edges. So I told them, listen, all these sharp edges you have to smoothen them because, in fact, the only situation where you need a sharp edge is a knife. In automotive manufacturing, people and look for covetousness. Although our friend Elon Musk with his Cybertruck came up with his own strange way of doing things, but Elon Musk is just we call him is it a wild card, someone who just comes in and does his own strange stuff. We can excuse him. He's the richest man in the world. But for some of us who are in this development trying to come up, let's try to say that is this thing on my mouth or on the screen? Getting a bit. There was a time I was having a video call, then something was stuck on the screen. I spent time rubbing. Sema, "Ai, na itoki then kumbe kwa screen bwana." So
You're good.
uh,
You're good.
we do it component by component. We said this is wrong. This reduces the sellability of the product. So I asked them, can we shape it like this, or do we have to buy one and use the purchased component as a guide? So no, we can shape it. Okay, let's see what you can do. Something like there was a certain component. In fact, this was quite comical. I told them to make for us a platform where the rear wheel can hang. So they made the platform, but they made the platform as a permanent feature on the bike so that you can yani unainua afu unaihook huko nyuma. So when I got there I saw something like a hook on the nyuma ya bike. Ambia hii mkia ni ya nini? Ambia boss, hii sasa unainua afu unafunga hapo. No, it's a platform where like the bike is on display, you tether it there. So when I realized that this is actually a learning experience for all of us. For me,
It is.
that
Yeah.
it's just breaking into new ground, and we have to accept that we are looking at this as is it a national disaster or a national issue? Like most people will complain about mechanics. Oh, this mechanic is this mechanic. But remember, these are 8-year-old vehicles. So we are having troubles repairing vehicles which are 80% of a decade old. That is technology 8 years ago. We still have problems. Imagine what happens if you end up with a 2023 unit. That could be a nightmare. So we have to understand where we are. So from my end, I do it component by component. Something is off. I don't know. This reduces the sellability of the product highly. And in an effort to be realistic, I've received contacts for someone in China. Once we
Okay.
sit down with financiers, we are talking about now importing a frame and using that frame as a guideline. Because so far what we've done, it has been a lot of trial and error, easy, sour, like that. And if you are to move forward to be more serious, to have a more serious, uh, you know, you are doing a business without a mentor. No mentor, no
Business?
coach,
Oh,
no
without a
guidance.
mentor.
Yes,
You guys are
you are not
pioneers.
pioneers. There's no one I'm talking to who has ever built a bike from scratch. So we have to find a way of going around that. So we thought best way a bike is running first order of business. Let's import a frame that is similar to ours, study it. Let's see if our boys can do something like that. Then combine that with robot manufacturing so that we go into mass in the long run is about mass production. So that has been this week's headache. Fortunately, I didn't take any painkillers, so it's as crazy as it gets. But as you say, we enjoy the journey. One day, I don't know if I'll be having grandchildren, I'll be telling them, ningeona pikipiki ya kwanza. Ningeanguka chini na kicheko. So it is what it is.
it's a step at a time. It's a step at a time, and you guys have made quite some progress.
Mm.
I wanted us to segue into the big day tomorrow.
The big day tomorrow.
So tomorrow we have what we termed as, or rather has been termed as,
The
Graduation
graduation.
Day.
Mm.
I'm also calling it the Yeah Africa Day.
Mm.
Is the day when the Kibe community, the Andrew Kibe community, will congregate in Nairobi to celebrate how far they have gone, to
Mm.
also launch this new content creation platform called the Yeah Africa. And I don't know, what are your thoughts in reflection to where we began? Um, Personally, I think I joined the space sometime last year, around May, June. It's been quite a journey.
I
Um,
joined it in March, March 2022.
Much of last year also, eh?
Mm.
Okay. And I know, I think around that time is when we used to do videos doing reactions on
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
space,
Reaction videos.
which now led us to this.
Where
So what are some of your reflections of? And maybe think of it holistically. One,
it's been.
what drew you to the community?
You see,
Looking at the
initially,
growth.
I used to listen to them through Rogue Radio.
Ah,
So
you are not going to the Twitter Spaces.
I didn't know about it. I just used to hear it on Rogue Radio Live, and I was wondering how do I join this thing. So I was looking for like a joining function on the Rogue Radio platform. So I inboxed the guy on
Which guy is
WhatsApp.
that?
Kibe, I used to have his number. I still have it. So on the number that he shares on YouTube,
Hmm.
ask him how do you get into this program. Then he told you use Twitter, then go to the spaces. Ah, wonderful. I got there, and man, initially those spaces were chaotic.
Yes, I remember
Chaotic.
those.
They were
Actually,
chaotic.
I was never in the chaotic ones, but when I listened to some of those videos,
Mm.
uh, I do get to hear a bit of that chaos.
Yes, but then again, it is like teething issues, and then there's also a mix of personalities. We are trying to fit each other into that groove, and somehow everyone seemed to gel. Like everyone's character now came into play, so that when this one comes in, this kind of stories we expect. Ali Chiapo comes in, we know that is marriage he's talking about. Ngeo with his stuff. Makduk, the first time I had Makduk, he said he had gone to to meet someone and he got kicked out and he had to walk at night in rainfall. That was his wake up moment. That's when I heard of Makduk.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember hearing. I was even actually asking him today about
mm,
it. I think there were those DNA questions
mm,
of Makduk, and yeah, his story is quite interesting. And now he's in Nairobi.
yeah,
Can you
and
imagine from there to now where we are now?
yeah, it's long. And then there are people who came in, but they could not fit. They had to leave. People like I don't know his real name, but they call him I don't know Daddy Short Strokes or Daddy Long Strokes or something
Oh yeah, here's I think a guy from Mombasa.
from Mombasa who, okay, he had a problem of lying that you never put him to task over something. He would change tactics, he'd change stories, and then he left.
Mm.
Uh,
I didn't
we have
find him, by the way, because I've no memory of him. Maybe I'll have to listen to those earlier
uh,
editions.
there are people when they come into the picture, this is somebody talking about filmmaking. That will be Albo,
Mm.
and that guy is a firebrand. And I remember going into an argument with him. Then I told him, "Listen, I'm not good at this prolonged argument." I'd
Yeah.
say, "Okay." That even annoyed him more. No, you have to stay here and we argue. Ah, pana bana, we argue mwenyewe. Yeah, because if I see we are getting into a prolonged argument, listen,
Yeah.
it is clear that
It's going in
our vision,
circles.
our vision is not matching. You can't force someone to eat chocolates and onions. You have to find a need. Those belong to different times. So you stay your. I think it was an argument about existence of God. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was like, and I said God exists. Oh no, yeah. I said, okay, listen. Um, you stick to your line, I stick to mine. They say, no. You stay here, we argue some more. Ah, yeah, pana boy. Hey, am I being paid to argue? I'm not an MP. There's no motion here that we're fighting for. You still,
Yeah.
we can actually coexist, each one with his own set of beliefs. For heaven's
Yes.
sake, we have Indians who are worship, I don't know, cows, and we have to worship God, and tunaendelea na maisha tu. In fact, I used to have an Indian boss. I was number two to him and would operate properly. He does his things, I do mine, but on the when we have a common factor which is work, we do well. So those are among the most recently there are guys who have come up, they are very strong in the spaces. I know Sakari Wataka
Sakari, yes.
and another one called Baiko. It's only that of
Baiko,
late,
yes.
you see, there's the work that I do online really demands from me a lot. Whatever I was doing before was not so much. It was something I could just do casually. But when I got something that can give me more money, it's more demanding mentally, and I'm also driven by the fact that I'm trying to make money for myself and to feed my project. I find that whenever I try to get into the spaces, the material, the content is so interesting that it takes me out of concentration
Your
from my
work.
work.
Yeah.
So I would just pop in for 1 or 2 minutes, listen on the
Then you're
listener
out.
panel. Then there are days when I'll go get into the space because maybe I'm taking an extended break.
Mhm.
But the fact that I'm doing some work that is really demanding, sometimes I'm forced to wake up at around 4. So it really took me a lot. It took me away from the spaces for quite a while.
But let's talk about um, what led you to the Kibe spaces. What explains the
Very
growth that
simple.
you see,
Very simple.
and what do you think
I
this
had
is
come
what
from
the future portends?
okay. What drew me for the space is very simple. Number one, you know that movie Matrix, The Matrix,
Yes.
whereby this guy Neo initially when you go to Matrix number one, this guy Neo thinks that something is wrong somewhere. He's living in that Matrix, but he thinks there's a problem. Something's not right. That is what I've always had issues with for a very large chunk of my life. Number one, working, and I'm glad I really never go to a place where I'm earning big money in work, and I was always, despite my capacity, I always found myself on the fringes there, and I
Mhm.
have to believe I don't belong here.
Mm.
Something's wrong somewhere. In matters relationships, always there's part of me that's telling me that I I cannot put my hand on it, but something is wrong somewhere. The main turning point is when somebody sent me. I used to go to this. There used to be this website called Kenya Talk.
Mm.
So, in
Okay.
the topic of sex and relationships, somebody put a topic about marriage and relationships being a waste of time.
Mhm.
Of course, I tried to combat it because I was a strong proponent of having a good relationship and marriage. So he said, instead of arguing, go read this book. He sent me a link to a book called The Key to Strong Relationship by someone called Reverend Shannon Phillips.
Mhm.
I downloaded the book, I started reading it. Man, that book made me feel very stupid. This guy is a reverend. He's telling me before you consider marrying,
Mhm.
go to divorce court. Before you talk to a marriage counselor, go talk to a divorce. lawyer or a defense attorney, whatever they call him in the United States, the
Yes.
amount of energy or the amount of mental beatings men go through in those sessions is out.
Yes.
Is see, your camera is a bit off. Your camera has gone off.
Yeah, don't worry. I've just
Okay.
turned it off. Let's
Mm.
continue. I want to change
Okay, sir.
where I'm
So,
sitting because I'm finding
no,
the light here
okay.
not
So
working for me.
the amount of mental beatings and the
Yes.
whippings that men go through in these sessions, the divorce courts, is astounding. These are what I call MDCs, men MDSs, men destruction centers. Men
Ah,
dis- get, men get destroyed like nobody's business. So I read that book, and with each page that I read, I was seeing myself because me being a proponent of, at that time being a proponent of relationships and whatnot, it started dawning into me that this is what I may be, heading into. So I read the book, but then again, there were parts of me or some of at that time I was still at work, so there was still some bit of feminine presence around the people, the workforce. Okay, the feminine presence was actually, I used to have a female colleague, good friend, the lady, she's married though, very nice, very compared to most ladies I know. She seemed somehow upright. So she's the one coming in the energy. Oh, marriage is okay. And I found myself agreeing to some of that. But that book had already planted seeds into me. At that time, Kibe was doing his short clips on the balcony, if I may call it. So now those clips, they were being shown. I was not chasing after them. This colleague of mine whose workstation was next to me was the one airing them, was running them, and I used to sort of peep at them once in a while. And she used to say, this guy is so angry. This guy is full of negative energy. This guy. Then somewhere at the back of my mind, it clicked that if you see a guy who's the kind of guy whereby ladies are always talking negatively against them, that guy is up to something interesting. If a lady every time, oh, this guy, this guy, this guy, chances are this guy is up to something that may be beneficial to men. Again, back to that book. For some reason, I used to read it most of the time. I used to read it at work, and I'd read and make comments. So she saw what was I was reading, and she asked me what it was all about. I would actually quote some paragraphs from there. And each time I quote a paragraph, she gets pissed off. She gets annoyed. So one, she hates the book. Two, she hates Kibe. Said, oh, in a subconscious manner, I started saying maybe I start looking at this Kibe guy. So days past is when uh, we I started hearing about it. This one was now, I think it was on the, it was more of a mainstream social media. Andrew Kibe is now launching Rogue Radio. At that time, he had an interview with Jalas or something like that, somebody like that. Then I heard about Rogue Radio. So initially, Rogue Radio, it was just music. Lute family karibu sana. Rogue Radio was just music, music, music. Then somewhere, I think it was in 20, I started going onto the YouTube shows. So I consumed a lot of the YouTube material. And remember, at that time, 2021, the YouTube shows for Kibe were less of comedy, but more of hard hitting topics concerning the domain of men versus. The topics were crazy. And I remember there was a time, you are on mute. I remember there was a time one of his regular callers called in and said something about he had been ignoring his readings and he made a mistake. And that was, I think, where he snapped. He said, okay, I think I'm wasting time with this serious stuff. Let's turn it into a comedy show. because I can't be here giving my lessons, exposing my shame, my previous shame, and you people are listening and you go repeating the same thing. So around that time, I think towards the end of 2021, it turned into a full scale comedy show. So the closing part of the shows used to say, "See you tomorrow morning." So tomorrow morning, I'll be going to Rogue Radio Live. The conversations are crazy, hard hitting, but I don't know where to log in. So it's when I popped into his WhatsApp DM, say, "Hey, Kibi, how do I join?" He said, "Use Twitter." When I went into Twitter, got opportunity to. I remember my first submission. It went crazy because we are talking about what is your fear, and I
Yes.
said my fear is mediocrity. Everyone landed on me. Where's the mediocrity? Maybe you're the one who's mediocre. And my typical return fire sequence said, and how are you able to pick in mediocrity in me? Oh, it was a back and forth. I remember this guy, the Canadian guy, Gift, coming in, and it so it was is when looking back at it, it was simply a case of characters fitting in. Number two, coming to terms with the fact that not everyone will agree with you. Number three, also understanding that it is okay. In fact, it is necessary that in a space, some people should disagree with you. Because, if I may paraphrase this guy, former governor of Eldoret, I don't know what his name, used to walk around with a rung. If you find in a situation whereby everyone is talking nice about you, you are either dead or dying.
Mm.
Uh, so it's about understanding that not everyone will like what you are saying. Some people will agree, others will agree mildly, others will be totally against you. That's why one of my favorite characters there is Ali Chiapo.
Mm.
He's a proponent of marriage, and for some reason, the marriage has worked for him. More power to him. He has found a way of, although we may call him puny, maybe he's enjoying the puniness. Yeah. We are talking in our angle from our angle. This marriage in generally exposure to women. Uh, sorry, especially for me, I've actually been staying alone for about 3.5 years, and the me of now and the me of before, these are two different people. Completely, it seems from my end, I'm not looking at the ladies, I'm looking at myself. Way of thinking, my what you call problem solving logic, and my general outlook of life. Because uh, female nature is about complaining when things don't go their way. Can you imagine? I think you have faced something like this before. You go with a lady in a supermarket and she wants something, tell her you can't have this today. You may be denied the pussy for 1 week. Why? Because it is female nature to always want their way. But masculinity nature is is it logical for me to do this? Like yesterday, I was in town. I wanted to buy something. Then I thought, listen, I'm trying to balance my finances over something. What this thing that I need to buy? Okay, that's a very nice. It's nice, but do I need it now? No. I walked on. In fact, it was just at the entrance of Naivas. Said, ah, pana. Logic. Let me handle two things before hii nitakujia baadaye. Coming to
So tell
terms.
me something. Let me, before you continue,
Hmm.
I remember that conversation that you had on that space about your fears. Um, Even at some point, I think Kibe had given up talking to you.
Yeah.
What did you get out of it? I mean, yes, there's a part of you don't have to disagree with anyone,
Hmm.
but for you, what did you learn out of it,
Well,
specifically on that topic?
well, see,
Is it really that it's a fear of mediocrity, or you are projecting something else in you?
I was at that time. I was that time. What was I doing? Yes, that was the first time I started. That was in 20 what? 2021.
Mhm.
We had come. I had recovered from COVID, and I was trying to revive the three wheel project. All right.
Ah, that's where it began, eh? Okay.
I was trying to revive it, and there was so much pushback in terms of getting people to understand what we are doing, the need to build our own things. So I was projecting what I had gone through in my interview. Remember, recently in 2020, I'd come out of employment. In employment, your job is simply go there, follow orders, get your salary, go home. This time we are building from scratch. So you can't build alone. You have to get with other people who are flowing in that direction. At that time, I was bringing in my experiences from now dealing with the people, not in employment side, but in building things, building concepts. That is why I talked about the fear of mediocrity. It really struck me. In fact, I found I was having problems understanding the fact that why don't you want this? What is preventing you from taking this line that I'm trying to do? So that's why somewhere along this channel, we once said, don't be like a locomotive pulling a long line of wagons. Be like a Formula One car. Whatever you have, work with it. It is during that time, after that, is when I said, I don't have resources for this big thing. Let me go the motorbike way.
So
Motorbike
I
way,
guess there was a point of pivoting, a
yes,
point of a bit of. I think what I've seen for you from you actually is you've also grown to a point where you have better self-awareness.
yes,
I think, I mean, to be a bit more blunt, at the time you did have it. I think to the point where Kibe, almost gave up engaging with you because you could see what he was trying to get at when he was pointing to you quite point blankly. And yes, I think you've also outlined the growth of the space from that point when it was very chaotic. I wasn't there at that time, but I've listened to some of those old Patreon recordings. And yeah, that was a time when Kibe used to have a topic. And many a times, I think George wanted to continue with the flow of conversation, make it more organic, authentic, and let the conversation take whatever direction it's gonna take. But then you'd find Kibe, always trying to get
rain is back.
George back. Hey, no, 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 let's get back. Our topic was this. Let's get back. And there was quite a lot of pushback between the two of them, and you could sense it. But now you see how now he just gives a title, and it could, of course, start off with a monologue. It could provide a bit of a base. But if you're listening to the space from what people are talking at the start of the year, when it was starting, to what it will be in the middle of the space to the point where it's about to end, it's a whole different topic.
Yes,
And I
because
guess that's the
the
magic of
topics
it in a
were,
sense.
it was an organic that you come in, you can shape it as you wish. We are good
Shape it
with
as
it.
you wish. And
So,
that's I guess that's what allowed people to come in, share, very intimate aspects of their lives, and then get a good whipping from men.
yeah, those
And I guess
whips
that's the
were,
thing with men. We are not there to cuddle one another,
yeah,
but we
whip
are
each
there
other.
to
In
call
fact,
out things as they are.
one of the things that the spaces have really have benefited is I operate on the knowledge that I don't know everything. Even what will sound very ridiculous, I'll tend to nod and say, okay, let me take that under consideration. Because it may look like crap right now, but in the morning when I'm fresh, I'll be, this is what this guy was talking of.
Mm.
Uh, when I'm dealing with my fiber optic guy, my carbon fiber guy, George, there are things he tells me initially they look strange. Then say, okay George, hebu unieleze hii kitu vizuri. Okay, like this, okay, itafanya. Okay, then there are times I tell you, look, fiber composite, that is your thing. Can I trust you to do this thing to the end without me asking questions, so that you just give me the final outcome? Yes, so it's now my that method of thinking empowers other people, as opposed to I'm only seeing something this way. Njia ni hii. And just because another road seems crooked, that crooked road may give you better outcomes. So it's about, see, most of these arguments are due to somebody stuck in their ways.
That's true.
You're told you are wrong. No, I cannot be wrong. I've been doing this for a long time. You may be doing something wrong for a long time.
And I guess it also builds your leadership skills, particularly around listening.
Yes. There are
To
so
have the
many.
patience to now,
Yes.
place yourself in the other guy's shoes,
Mm,
try to understand what he's trying to get at,
yes.
and not just listening to respond, but listening to
To
understand.
understand.
It's
Another
very
person
important.
who really makes major contributions to me is my call him a senior partner, Eric. There are times you have conversations, he tells me something, and say, okay, unieleze zaidi. This guy is making sense. And the fact that I'm willing to listen, so many things we've done, we've gone through on the bike, and it's making sense because why? I'm not like a god to be worshipped and feared. You tell me where it's going wrong. So this is due to, I'll say, a large contributor is the spaces, and I can say with confidence, uh, the spaces have now gone beyond women issues.
Mm.
It is more man centric. It's more about polishing yourself, and manhood is about being truthful, accepting that there are things you cannot. There, there are three categories of things: things you can control, things you cannot control for the moment, and stuff that is completely out of your domain.
Yeah.
So you play around with these factors and see how much ground you can cover.
And we were also actually talking about that, um, but this time in respect with the victimhood. And
Mm.
I was saying, one thing I've learned is to try and see how, one, always to ground myself in the here and now, because you don't know the future and the past. The past is gone, you can't revisit it. And the future is abstract. It's not there, doesn't exist at all. It's it's a ghost, if you might call it so. Uh, but does that mean you can't plan for the future? Yes, you could, and you can, but you can't take yourself a day before, a year before, whatever. What you can do is what you have now. You can determine what your future is by what you're doing in the present. You can change the story of your past by what you're doing in the present. So that's one. And then two, learning to always, as you say, what can I control? What is within my scope of control? Because many a times we engage in these mindless conversations of politics, of what's happening with the economy, and you've got no say or input in that conversation, at least not from a national perspective. But what you do is you can change your fortunes now. Your life is not because of the economy. Your life is not because of the politicians. Your life is because of your actions and decisions. That's the bottom line. I mean, we are all assuming at least we live in a peaceful country where there's some rule of law.
Yeah, there are no.
Whatever issue you're having now,
Mm.
it's on you. It's not because of other factors. Yes, there's a way sometimes they can impact you. Let's say if there's poor power issues where you are, maybe you're experiencing load shedding. But what have you done? The other day we were hearing from a very brilliant um, entrepreneur who decided to take full 110, 100 or 200% responsibility of himself. He was living somewhere, I think in Nairobi, where there's a lot of outages. The guy put in power backup. and now his business has gone 3, 4 fold. Even has been able to buy like 3 cars. So ultimately, it's on you. Ultimately, it's on you. So don't engage yourself in aspects that don't concern you. Bring it back to
In
that
fact,
circle
look
of
at it as a problem solving opportunity.
100%.
Mm.
Yes.
Because,
The
like,
problem solving opportunity, and what do you call the other one on constant improvement?
what we call CSI, create, solve, improve.
Create, solve, improve.
Yeah.
I think that's the motto of every man. Create,
Mm.
solve, improve.
Yeah.
So yes, it's good. And I think just to bring back to what we are talking about, we've seen that evolution of the space. And now it has gone to become this global community, which has now brought all these people coming down to Nairobi. Who'd have thought you'd see the likes of Geo and Mark Duke making that investment of both monetary and of their time to take a flight to go all the way to Kenya to come see someone? What led to the rise of the SASMA Awards? Again, who would have thought that Kibe would be recognized by people outside of Kenya? You'll be recognized there. So there are people that are probably watching your stuff and what you're producing, but you have no clue. You might be surprised, as you're saying now that you began engaging in some Chinese, that now that you're beginning to build something credible, there's someone somewhere who's just taking notes, who's been following you keenly. Then probably will come in and say, let's partner. Let's see how we can fund you. Let's see how we can take this to the next level. So it's been quite interesting seeing this journey of those 2 or so
In fact,
years of
I've deliberately
dedication.
not been posting anything on my timeline because I
Mhm.
call this Year Africa Week.
Ah,
I don't want to divert people's attentions. I said, although it's a bit regrettable that I won't be able to make it, but in fact, I had a discussion with my partner in Tanzania. You ask, even if you had that money right now, what you do? Even if we had that money, we have a budget for, you know, it is very wrong for the second iteration to be within the same league as the first iteration. It's
mm,
very wrong. So the first iteration, the video is taken by hand. This iteration, it will be a professionally shot clip, and
mm.
we don't really put it in writing, but our we want to create a situation whereby somebody will ask, "Is this an African who's doing this?"
Excellence
Hmm.
and
We are associated with
progression.
Wakali,
Yeah.
but we say no. That narrative has to be kicked out.
Mm,
So if I even went to the point of, that place where we work with looks a bit rough.
mm.
So I'm actually shopping for venues, backgrounds where the videos can be shown so that we have a fantastic presentation. When it lands on the Year Africa uh, video spot, somebody will have to ask, you guys airing stuff from outside of? No, it's an authentic African setup. So that's what we are pushing hard on. And all this, in fact, if you look at this channel we are having, it's been born out of the Kibe spaces.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
If we are not
This
attending,
friendship, the
it
friendship
is
that we have.
it's you see what happened before, when we had the mainstream media. The media, I call them the practitioners or the active players, had an air of mystique around them. Kiba just came and flattened everything. Kuna bwana, ingia
100%.
anzisha yako. So that courage, that drive to do something, and you are doing it not because okay, getting followers is okay, getting listeners is okay, but look at us. It's only that Sharif Mustafa is away, Lute family is now here. we had I don't know, yourself, Mustafa, Luti family, and some other guy, I forget him. But we keep pushing. Episode number 45.
Yeah,
Because
there was
we've made
okay.
it into a life routine. So these routines is what defines a manhood. Is your routine taking you somewhere?
Yes.
And are you doing it for someone else or for yourself? Can you imagine the first flight in the world took 12 seconds? Those guys would have said, 12 seconds only. Yet 12 seconds, you won't get to, I'm on fourth floor. 12 seconds, itaisha when you are on, I think, second floor. You won't even get to ground floor. That is,
Mm,
they had all every opportunity to call this a complete failure.
mm,
But look at now, now we have a transatlantic flight for I
can
don't
you
know how
imagine
many hours
that?
in the air. Now look at Air Africa now, and I'm seeing on some spaces people are complaining, oh, the better, I don't know, there's a what this, I don't know, better version is like this. You need to hire better develop. You need to. I call them the you need to community. You need to. But if I can bring in what this guy Vusi Tembekwayo says, we only build statues for builders, not critics.
Oh wow, that's powerful.
Hmm. It is the builders who get the statues, not the critics.
Yes.
Hmm. So I would say, and this is something, and maybe I can share it right now.
Mhm.
I do not want to. Yes, I've noticed some issues in Africa. What I can say is this: in the fullness of time, I've given myself a target somewhere along the line. I don't know when I'll be making a contribution of 300,000 GBs of server space to Africa. That's what I have
Mhm.
something in the back of my mind. I'm not going to talk about this thing is like this, like this. If I were a developer, I would rather call Mboya, listen, where are you based? Can I come in and add this bit to refine the product? Where are your offices? Or if I cannot access you physically, can we get into Team Viewer? Give me access so that I can do A, B, C, D to improve your experience. But if you go to, you should, we need to, you have to, you are not sounding like an activist. You are a critic. And no day, there's no day a monument or an award or a statue will be set up in remembrance of a critic.
Mhm.
People like,
Yeah.
I don't know, these things were in engineering class. I think uh, fluid, fluid mechanics of form of fluid mechanics of second and third year. We used to hear about Bernoulli's principle. I'm
Yes.
here that Bernoulli guy. There are people who criticize his formulas. Sema hii formula yako hii haiendi mahali bana, you are wasting time. Eh? But
And
we
now
remember
it's
Bernoulli.
it's a standard.
Eh? We do not remember whoever criticized him.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are fitting, is it fitting or fitting Andrew Kibe? The people who criticize him are nowhere. So you have to be very, very careful. Which lot do you belong to? If I had training in software engineering and I see Africa's problem, I'll get in touch with Tom Boyer. Tell him, listen, Tom Boyer, uh, this is what I'm suggesting. Can we meet somewhere so that I can share my code, or can you give me temporary access to Team Viewer so we can do A, B, C, D? That is what I would rather do.
Yeah, being solution oriented, not just a complainer.
Mm,
As you say, it's easy to criticize, but
mm,
to do the work, I mean, to get the app wherever it is now,
mm,
bro, it has taken, the works of some, brilliant people. And,
mm,
it's only non-builders who don't see that. As you're saying, where you're doing the construction is not the prettiest of places, but anything good is not made out of prettiness. It's a messy affair. The final product, of course, um, is something to behold, but the process from where it started to where it is now took a lot of messy work. very manual at it, work that was very intense, works that was very, very tiring. But all the same, it gave rise to a magnificent piece of property or a magnificent piece of machinery or tool, whatever it might be. Um, yeah, that's what it has done. Yeah,
And one thing about such ventures, they tend to expand.
yeah,
This is going to go far. This is going to go
yeah.
very
We
far.
actually
Because that is
that's
why,
what
to
we're
some
also
extent, what
talking
I
about.
have in the back of my mind, in fact,
Mhm.
what I have is 300,000 GBs with integrated cooling system and power backup. That would be my physical contribution. Give me the location, I give you 300,000 GBs of space with an integrated cooling system and power supply, backup power supply. So that
Mm.
Yeah Africa, when you click on Yeah Africa, you start wondering, hey, is this thing based in America? No, this is based in Africa. So I know for such ventures, the biggest issue is data space.
Yes.
That
Oh
is the
my
number one.
goodness.
Mm.
That's a big thing. That's
I just
definitely
said,
the big thing.
for now, I'm going to whip myself for not being able to raise that cash on time. But if I'm to
Do you
come
still
in
want
here,
to attend? Because I've heard of several people who have made
uh,
like donations or rather have paid, but they don't have anyone to go to. You can check
let me
with
just,
Foya,
let me just,
but you don't want to go
I don't
there
want to go
on
as the individual who goes there
someone's expense.
riding on somebody's efforts.
I
Uh,
agree.
I'll let We normally say, let me take this one on the chin,
Take it like a shot of tequila.
take a killer. But the back of my mind, I know what these guys need is data space.
Yeah, I mean I'm sure that's one of the
What they
big
need
things.
is
Even
simply data space. A data,
yeah,
they call them data centers. A data center, very nice data center.
yeah,
And
they're using a local Kenyan cloud service provider.
hmm,
Um, I think they are going to look at AWS, but it's too costly. Maybe at
hmm.
some point we might eventually go there, but why not
AWS,
also
is
do
this
it in Kenya? And they're also
for
good
Jeff
providers
Bezos?
locally. Yeah,
This is for Jeff Bezos.
AWS, yes.
Yeah.
Amazon.
Right.
Yeah, it
Is it?
is. It is for
uh,
Jeff Bezos.
those guys are big. They are the ones who provide data for Formula One cars.
Wow.
There's something called tire wear data. See, when
Mhm.
a Formula One car is like a moving uh, data transmission. On a Formula One space truck, there are pods or like sticks, whereby each time a Formula One passes across next to it, it picks the data on various components. So there are many fans like us who want to get into the nitty gritty of what's happening in a Formula One car. So some, not throughout, there are some times where you focus on maybe a certain driver is slowing down, the AI's graphic showing tire condition, real-time tire condition of the vehicle, 30% tire wear, 60 tire. That one is done by AWS services. So you can
Oh, that's
imagine
I see. I
how,
see. I've seen even their advertisement on the cars, on the
yes,
jerseys, or rather
yes.
the costumes that the drivers wear.
That's why I'm saying
Yeah,
right now, the biggest commodity is data, right?
it
Data
is.
is. So I said to myself, because I looked at various companies with their data space, I was told Twitter has an equivalent of one 1 million gigabytes is called a. There's a name they give. There's a certain name for 1 million gigabytes. So I'd say,
Oof.
that's what Twitter uses. Now, this is Twitter. Imagine what YouTube is consuming, where it is purely videos, videos, videos. Because Twitter
Exactly.
is
And people
videos,
streaming
and
from all
remember,
across the world.
Twitter videos are limited in duration.
Yeah.
Yeah. Twitter videos are limited in duration, and they are clocking one. I think there's a certain name for 1 million gigabytes. You can just do a quick friend from, you say,
Gotcha.
make Google your friend, yeah. So they say 1 million gigabytes. It's called an exabyte.
Exabyte.
Uh,
Ah,
an exabyte is 1 million gigabytes. So I said, uh, no, not 1 million exabyte. Is 1 billion. Yeah, it's actually one exabyte is equal to 1 billion exabytes. 1 exabyte is equal to one billion gigabytes, and that is Twitter.
yeah. So, I mean, as you say, I think the future is bright. We even don't know what this platform will give rise to.
And you
There
see,
have been so many spin offs, as we say, of Twitter spaces, YouTube accounts. People have been
you see,
challenged to get into this content creating game.
you know, there is called allowing something to grow organically. This is who we are right now.
Mm.
5 years from now, I don't know. This channel may be something abnormally crazy. This may be the channel that even heads of state tune in to listen.
Mm.
Mm. Because hopefully I'll be a mega electric and hybrid manufacturer. You'll be a beast in the field of IT. So when
Yes.
we are at that level and we are talking, people will listen.
People listen. Yeah.
Mm.
I was even saying the same. I think I was sharing this on the Twitter space. We don't know what, yeah, Africa. I mean, at the moment, we only see it as just a content creation platform. But this could more for give rise to fintech solutions. It could give rise to ag- agri solutions. So there's already a community built, and now there's a platform that this community can play in and where they can exchange
Robert
the
SFDC,
value.
karibu sana.
Hey, salute Robert SFDC. I like the
We
way.
can give him 10 extra minutes for this gentleman. We were discussing, see, we are Free Flow Saturday, episode number 45. This is something that we got the inspiration from being in the Andrew Kibe spaces, the Twitter, and listening to the YouTube spaces. And the name Robert SFDC is very common in the YouTube shows. And the reason we are here is because Andrew Kibe demystified the business of content creation. Because during the era of the mainstream media, the practitioners or the active personnel had an air of mystique around them. Andrew Kibe comes in and does his magic and makes it clear that anyone with a laptop, Android, or iPhone with a stable internet connection can get in and do this. We normally do it for 1 hour. We are actually wrapping up, but we wanted to mention you, Robert SFDC, as an individual
And
who,
it's been very pivotal to see how the community has grown. I mean,
yes,
he's
yes,
one of
indeed.
the moderators behind the scenes. I
Yes,
don't know what other, roles he ends up taking, but I mean, you saw from the reception Kibe got when he landed. You see how, he's able to tour Dubai. He will also be going to Qatar, come to Kenya, and in each of those locations there is a Kibe fan base of sorts. I mean, to do that, man, it's not an easy job, and he did that consistently with those 5 days a week of spaces, 5 days a week of YouTube lives, and even sometimes squeezing in something over the weekend. Man, it's
it is
it,
because
it's
of people like Robert is why we are here. Because initially we used to say only recorded reactions.
exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
We used
So
to,
salute to you, Robert, SFDC, and
yes, set your calendar Saturdays, 7 to 8 p.m. That's where we are. Uh, we are on number 45 right now. And initially, it never used to be live. It used to be a recorded session. And we had to work very hard to flush the noises out of our heads. Used to say, "Oh, life is complex. Life in Akwanga na issues," but we are here. Episode number 45, courtesy of the big bro himself, the God himself, who assisted us in flushing the noises
challenged
out
us.
of our
Yeah.
head. And here we are. Tuko hapa. Sharif Mustafa, I think he's airborne because I
Okay.
sent him a message, but I
He
think his
hasn't
phone is
received
off.
it.
So he'll check out the recorded version. So yeah, tumetoka mbali from episode number 1. We are in episode number 40. Those are 45 Saturdays. 45 Saturdays, gentlemen. So this is who we are,
Non-stop.
non-stop. 1 hour, 7 p.m., 8 p.m. In fact, there's one I did. We call it Free Flow Saturday Home Edition. I had a
Yes.
crazy flu.
Home edition. I remember that one.
Well, there was we called the Free Flow Saturday Home Edition. I was busy
Yeah.
blowing my nose all over until I said, "Hey guys, we have watch out to mission minute number 40 because at the rate at which you're going, I'll collapse on live." So thank you very much for being with us. And Mr. Andrew Mutua, do you have closing statement?
I think the future and the world, yeah, Africa to the world, is a great platform. It's built for Africa, by Africa, um, and it's a marvel that we all should celebrate and also
Yes.
work with to grow it. I saw there's
So
even somebody who was doing
Mwereze Mweu Madiba. This is a name like sounds from down south. Mwiriwe Neza. Yeah, thank you very much. This must be somebody from down south. I don't know if he's Makduk's neighbor,
no.
but
Mwiriwe is actually Kinyarwanda.
oh, I read Madiba, and I normally associate Madiba with South Africa, but no
Also,
problem.
I've also never heard that name. I don't know if the person is Rwandan, or maybe he happens to have lived.
Whoever he is, tunasema thank you for showing up. Although you've come at the end of the show, your presence is highly appreciated. And with your permission, Mr. Andrew Mutua, can I say adios to say goodbye? Then I say
See
adios.
ya.
Asante sana.
Goodbye.